I hope you're all well. It's Teresa here from South East London. I still haven't moved, so I still haven't got the honour of saying from somewhere deep in Kent, but we're getting there very slowly. We've now got a big roof repair to think about. It just seems to be one thing after another. I hope wherever you are, you're safe from the wonders of nature, so please take care. Now I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody who's replied on Facebook, and that's Celine, Kath, Jackie, Patricia, Susie, Tercerine, Deborah and Louise, and also all the comments on YouTube, which is Mary T. A big welcome to you, Mary. I hope you like both the YouTube channel and the Facebook group, and anyone else whose name that has escaped me for some reason. Glenn, Lynn He with a HY, Gillian, just starting over, and as I commented on YouTube, I think that's really lovely, and I did say I hope you're just starting over. It's a lot more smoother than my just starting over, which was really rocky. Wouldn't wish that on anyone. Rebecca Sparrow, what a gorgeous name, Rebecca. I just love your last name, Sparrow. Jackie Galloway, of course. I had to stumble there, Jackie, because there's a couple of Jackies, and I did put G next to your name, Jackie G. And Sue Smith. Once again, so there's a couple of Sues as well, so I've included your last name. Well, I hope everybody, regardless of whether you commented or not, very well, okay? And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to continue with the felt project. The inspiration for this video comes from, right, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Kyrgyzstan. And if I remember, I'll put that name up here, okay, because I know I've not pronounced it properly. I thought I could. And that's in Central Asia, and they make the beautiful Shrydak carpets, and they usually do it in two colours and reverse them like counterchange. I expect the quilt makers will be familiar with counterchange, and other artists on here using negative and positive shapes as well, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Now they do the whole process in these villages. They take from taking the wool from the sheep to turning that into felt in the same way, believe it or not, as we did in the last video, only larger obviously. We just touched on it. So they take the wool from the sheep and they felt it, they dry it, and then they make the carpets from the felt, and then they add surface stitchery, which is usually, always I would think, running stitch. Now I've taken this felt carpet idea and the mosaic design that they tend to work from in their layouts, and I've adapted it to a much smaller, tiny idea, which will progress as always as we develop the idea while we work, i.e. progression of the idea. So at the moment, that is all I know. We will be working with paper cutouts, I think. That comes next. So as always, grab your cake, grab your coffee, or your cup of tea and your afternoon scone, and curl up in your chair. Alright, so let's carry on. So we're going to be working from paper cutouts. I don't want you to think of this as some childish task, because it isn't. My book here on Matisse is on his cutouts. And as Matisse got older, he was very ill and confined to bed and to a wheelchair, and he'd lost his fine motor controls. He employed an assistant, basically. That's a bit of a work donkey, bless her. But he spent a lot of his time using scissors and paper, making the cutouts for his larger pieces of work. And I'm just going to show you this book. I love this book. And there he is. That's Matisse there in his wheelchair, surrounded by pieces of paper from his cutouts. And the whole book is about how he used his cutouts. And we did in fact use I don't know if this group used that, the snail. I've got a feeling we might have touched on that, but we did use this in a bag that we did, and we used these as oak leaves. So we have used this book before, so if you think you recognise this, you probably do. And also another champion for the cutout was Picasso. As you can see, he's cut out on the front of this book, which I got from the Royal Academy of Arts in London at this very exhibition. And once again, he was a great person who used cutouts. I'm not sure if it's because Matisse did and Picasso liked the cutouts, but there was a rivalry between them, although they were actually great friends. But I'm not sure, that could be totally wrong. Okay, this is like, I mean, when I say cutout. Now, in my piece of work, I want 9 of these. I do know that already. 9 cutouts. Now, I'm thinking on my feet at the moment, because although I've given it some thought, I keep saying, as you know, which you do, we tend to start with the idea and then it grows elsewhere, okay? And it's like we have no control over it, which I very often don't. Now, my cutouts will be 5 1/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And all we're going to do is fold this like so into 4, and then I'm going to fold the quarters again like this, and I'm just going to cut where the move takes me. So let's see, oh, this is quite hard when I know I have to do this. So I'm going to cut that way, and then I'm going to cut this way, and this is always quite could be. That's quite nice. I have already spent some time cutting out. Now, if you remember from the introduction, some of the pictures of the Shrydak carpets, it's not a million miles away from those sort of designs. Now you have to imagine maybe 9 of those, all the same design, all the same, like that. Right, now I'm thinking aloud here. Now which one do I like? I'm going to choose one from here. Right, not the one I've just done, and not that one. There's something about that one that's no, I'm not using that. So that leaves me with these 2. That one's a bit boring. They're just sort of oval shapes, nothing spectacular there, so I'm not having those. I'm going to stick with this. Okay, so the next thing is to transfer these onto my felt fabric, and what I'm going to do is just draw around them. I've chosen my felt. My felt is going to be red and green. All right, I'm doing mine red and green on a black background. Now this is glue, so I need to use that as the back. Can't afford to waste any black, so that is where I've joined 2 pieces together with glue stick, but from the front it doesn't notice. So these are the backgrounds which the coloured felt will go on. to transfer the design, oops, I'm going to use a biro. Okay, now I'm only using a biro because this will be the back side, so any marks in the biro will either be cut out or they'll be on the back. And all I'm going to do is draw all the way around this. Okay, and there we are. And I've also done the same with the green. Now the next thing to do is very carefully cut out these shapes on both of them. So I'm just going to do that, and that won't take very long. Where's my scissors? Now if you can use a small sharp pointed pair of scissors, it makes it a lot easier to cut around these shapes. Now don't throw these shapes because you never know, and I'm not sure if we will, but you never know whether we're going to use them again. So these are finished now. There's the red one and the green one. Now because I'm doing 9, which is an odd colour, which is an odd number, I'm going to need 5 of one colour and 4 of the other. So I favour the red, so I'll probably do 5 red and 4 green. But what I didn't say is that this is also an exercise in colour. The colours that are used need to be contrasting, deep, bright, contrasting colours. So I've used complementary colour, 2 complementary colours, I mean, red and green. They just complement each other nicely. Now it's also an exercise in positive and negative shape. Sometimes when this is done traditionally, there's an issue over what is the negative shape and what is the positive shape, because as this progresses the boundaries get very confused as to negative and positive. So I just think that's interesting. But already at this stage this is very flat. It's very flat, so it's going to need quite a lot of surface stitchery on it. Bearing in mind this is not to be used as a rug. It will be used as anything else but not a rug. I certainly wouldn't put any of my work on the floor, because these are actually used in homes in this particular area of South Asia, Central Asia, and they're made as dowry presents as well. A mother would make this for her daughter and give it to her on her marriage. And there's an awful lot of work that goes in there, but they are actually used as floor coverings. So I'm not doing that, so I'm going to do what I normally do, heavily embellish, I think, this. I'm also thinking of the centre, and once again I'm thinking of our last project with the Shisha. So, and it's purely to indulge my new addiction to Shisha, so the glass mirror work. So I might do that. Now in the traditional designs, what they would, or what they do I should say, they do have backing fabric, but what they do now is the counterchange. This is counterchange. They will take the red from here and they would fit it in here and sew that in with very tiny stitches. They would sew that in like that, and then they would take the green, they would change, counterchange, so they'd end up like this. So the green would be on the red and the red would be on the green, and it is a stunning effect, especially when the complementary colours are used, or 2 very strong colours together. So look how good that's looking. So this is what they would do. They would counterchange them. But anyway, we're not doing that. But I just thought I'd show you that out of interest. We are doing them on the black. So let's turn that over. And I think this is just as stunning. It's startling, the black. I wonder if it would be just as startling on white. I don't know. Now the first thing I'm going to do is attach the background to the black. Now I'm going to start on the red. I think I'm going to work on the red for the demonstration. Now just line these up because the background square is the same size, and I'm going to start with a running stitch. Now we all know what running stitch is, so there'll be no demonstration. I'm going to go round, outline all the shapes on here, and it shouldn't take too long. So there we go, outline all, and you'll find as you're working that your felt will actually become soft and a bit limp. So I'll try not to overhandle it at this stage because there's a lot more work to do and we don't want to end up with pieces of rag. Okay. That's the sew stitch or the running stitch done all the way around the outside. I've done that in a brown thread all the way around the outside, 3 strands, using a long, thin, sharp needle. It needs to be long and thin with a sharp point to go through 2 thicknesses of felt. Now after I did that, I thought I might as well do some white, same stitch, running stitch or slow stitch, whichever, all the way on the inside. Now this didn't take very long at all. Stitches aren't necessarily all the same length, but that doesn't matter. And I like the effect of the dark and the light with the inside here. So I'm quite pleased with that at the moment. I've given it a press underneath a cloth, and it's got a nice flat surface now. It did get a little bit crinkled at the end, but I've put that right. Now the next thing to do, I think, is to deal with the centre. It's not a true sort of round shape. They don't all meet at given points here. So I think I need to put a centre in, a piece of mirror there to help me, to guide me. Now I'm going to do this the same way as I did it on the last video. Now you can use double-sided sellotape. I didn't have this on the last video, but managed to find some. Can use that, or I'm just going to use a little dab of hot glue, and once again just the size of a pinhead, like that. The thing is with hot glue, you have to work quickly because as soon as it hits the air it starts to dry, it starts to harden, and you don't get much time to maneuver. Now that is, yeah, that's fine there. Right, I can turn that off now. Just be careful if you do use hot glue and what sort of fibres you use it on, because some will melt and some will burn, so it isn't ideal, to be honest. You need a nice knot, come through and just make a little over sew there. That will lock it. Now come through again, once again off centre. Now I'm going to make this bigger. Off centre, and I'm going to take this across, straight the way across. This isn't too good, is it? All the reflections. Now can you see that? Right, so straight the way across like this, and then you're going to do one next to it, a short way away from there, off centre as well, and straight the way across there. So you have 2 parallel lines of thread, and then we're going to do exactly the same on the side here, off centre, 2 parallel lines once again, and you should end up with a nice little box shape in the middle. So that's the first one, and that's, I think I'm going to have to tilt this so you can actually see it. There we go. So that isn't quite, oh it is, there we go. Right, so that is what we've got. A nice little box in the center here. And now we're going to do the same, just turn it around, and we're going to go in between those, so in there, and do the same. Right, where are we on there? Can you see the needle there? Right, so we're going to do the same, go across, off center, there we go. There we are, off center to the other side, and then find another gap next to it, off center again, straight across, down there, and then just turn it on its side again and do two side ones. Always off center. And why I say off center, it's because they won't be too close to the edge of the mirror, so they won't risk falling off, because these are, the mirror and the thread are so shiny, they dance, and they can just easily slip off the edge. So I prefer to do it just off center, like so, and then you don't get that. There we are. Now have I done 1, 2, yeah, that's it. So there is the center square. You see the center there. Now next bit is quite a nice task. I'm wondering if I can, how I can do this. Right, so I'm going to come through from the edge of the mirror and do a blanket stitch. Now all I'm going to do is go under the threads to the center. So with your needle, oh, I hope you can see this. So go under the threads with your needle and loop it. There's your first blanket stitch. Now we're going to do that all the way around. Now with this one, I'm not actually going into the background fabric. I don't need to with this one. With the last one, the wet felting one, I did, because that pile on that handmade felt was very thick, and I felt I needed to go into that felt just to secure it. Right, now I'm going to carry on doing this all the way around the edge until I get back to the other side. Fabric, and I'm going to do a little chain all the way around, and it just gives it a neat look. You don't have to do the chain, but I'm just going to put the chain in there. I'm not doing the chain stitch demonstration because I did that on the last one. So if I just hold it like this, and I'll just all the way round. Right, that's the chain stitch done. Now I'm going to work a stitch around there, and the stitch that I've chosen is going to be a half feather stitch. So just one-sided feather stitch, and this is really lovely to do. So I'm going to come through from the back again and just do one side of the feather stitch. So I'm going to take it, let me make that bigger. So I'm going to take it out a little way from the chain stitch and then bring it back to the chain stitch, and we're just going to then bring it out, bring the needle out at the side of the chain stitch, and there is your first stitch. Then we're going to do that again. We're going to take it out from the chain stitch, then bring it back to the chain stitch. There we go. So you're just getting half a stitch. So out from the chain stitch and then back to the chain stitch. And then to finish it off, I just take the needle through to the back. Right, I'm going to bring the needle back up to one of these spikes, and I've decided to put some beads around there. It did cross my mind to put French knots there, but I don't think they'd be seen, to be honest. So I'm going to use some beads. They're quite big beads. Well, I'm going to go for, I think I'll go for pink. So I'm going to put the beads. Right, so I've just put some beads on the mat, and that will stop them from rolling. That's a special beading mat, and I was a bit disappointed really when it arrived. There's nothing very special about it, to be honest, but anyway, there you go. So one bead each leg. I'll just secure that down, one all the way around there until I get back to the last leg. There, done. Now, in my head, when I started this, the Shisha, after I had done this sewing, I imagined that perhaps this would be finished, with that being the main focus of embellishment with the stitches. Maybe I'd do a few more stitches around here, but I like this effect so much, I think I'm actually going to do some feather stitch around these long pieces here. So I'm going to make a start on that. Now we've all done feather stitch before, so I'm just going to, where am I? Right, so up here, through from the back, across as wide as you want it, as long as you want it. Bring your needle out, and there's your first stitch. Now you take it off to the side, one of the sides, parallel to this, over there. Keep your thread down under your thumb as long as you want it, like that. Pull it through and carefully remove your thumb, and that's your second stitch. So where are we? Off to the side, as wide as you want it, thread still being held down by the thumb. There, you can't come out down here, as long as you want it. Where's the needle? There, and that's all there is to feather stitch. So I'm going to carry on with the feather stitch until I've completed all these long pieces here, and to be honest, I don't think it's actually going to take that long. I'm quite pleased with that effect. It really didn't take very long at all to do this, maybe 10-15 minutes. So I'm pleased that I did that. At first I thought it might have taken a long time, but no, it didn't. I think it's a nice effect as well. Now, once again, I thought about, while I was doing it, it still needs something. It's really not finished, and once again I thought maybe stitcheries, single chain stitches or French knots. Then I thought, no, that's the answer. I'm going to put more beads on it. So on each one of these legs I'm going to add a bead. I'm going to start here. I'll just start it on the camera, and then I'll carry on off the camera. You really don't need to see me doing this. So, oops, I put the bead on first. There. And that's all I'm going to do now. Get cozy in the chair, put the radio on, and just enjoy what I'm doing. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just do a single chain around, or a detached chain around each of these little beads. So just one single chain, and that is the first one. And I've changed the colour of the thread. This is like a turquoise colour, and it goes quite nice with the pink and the red. Now let me make this a bit bigger, and you might be able to see exactly what I'm doing. Right, let's have a look. I'm going to go around that bead next. I'm going to come through at the top of that bead, right there. You can come through where you want, depends how big you want your detached chain. Right, so let's have a look. Is that coming out on the screen? Oh, it's all right. And then pull through, and then thumb down on the thread like that, and then you're going to go under the bead, back into the chain where you started, back into the I'm going into the same hole actually, and then as long as you want that, and then you pull that, there's your chain, and you just go in the bottom, just a regular chain. Now I'm going to carry on and do this all the way around these chains, these beads, and then I'll sit back and see if they're finished, or if it's finished at that stage, or should I start the other 8? Got 8 more to do after this one. So, finished. So I don't think I'm going to put anything else on here for the time being. I might even have finished it completely, but I'm going to do the other 8 now, and then put them together and see if they need anything else. I don't know whether these areas need anything, or whether I should just leave them plain to provide the contrast between all the busyness here and all the texture. We need the contrast now of busy versus, busy versus plain, calm, and texture, this rough texture against the smooth. So well, this certainly wouldn't make a carpet, would it, with all these beads on it? Anyway, that is, as I said, finished for the time being. I think I'm going to make a start now on the other 8, and I shall be doing the same. I'll be doing the Shisha, the feather stitch, the slow stitch, the beads, and the detached chain. I should be doing it all. Maybe I'll vary the colour, I'm not sure yet. I need to sit down and have a think. Maybe just study this for a while to see what's going on with it and what I need to do. So here comes number 2. It didn't take long actually. It didn't take long at all. So there we go. Number 2, and then what? 7 more to do. Okay. Well, that's the 9 finished. It took a good couple of hours to do this, but as I said, it's a really nice task to do. I've done exactly the same as you saw on the demonstration one, which is there, but I've changed the colours of the thread. If you can have a look at that one, you can see where I've changed the colour of the detached chain, and I've changed the way the Shisha has been applied. So they're all basically different. I mean, I've repeated the detached chain on, there's that one. When I say the detached chain, I mean round the Shisha. That one has detached chain. That one has detached chain around the Shisha. That one has fern stitch. That's a little fern stitch, which is just a grouping of 3 straight stitches. I did get the French knots in. I've got some French knots in there. If I can make that a bit bigger. Oh no, you can still only see a little bit of it, can't you? So anyway, that is how it's looking at the moment. All the mosaics, the tiles have been done. Now I need to work out a way of attaching them, and maybe have a think about what I'm going to do with it. I might just frame it for sort of demonstration purposes. I might not make anything up with it. Where's that one there? I need a bit of a break. I need to walk away from it for a while and go out shopping or do so. Well, I won't be going out shopping. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So, so I'll have to find something else to do for a while. And then I'll have a look and sort of reassess it all. Okay, so far it's looking good. And I hope you're enjoying it. Don't think, oh, what a lot of rubbish. Okay, and I'll get back as soon as I've worked out how to attach them. I've found some black felt, and I think I'd like to have a black background with spaces between the tiles. And now, as you know, I'm calling these tiles. So I'm not sure that I want them all close together. I think it might be just a little bit too much, too busy. And at this stage, I am thinking of having the black spaces between, but I might vary them. So I have some at a distance, some lower, maybe that one over. So the background space, the negative space, becomes quite a feature, and it's not all uniform. That is my thinking at the moment. I mean, as you know, it's likely to change, and then if I do that, that frees up a little bit more work in the dark spaces. Now I'm not sure. My initial thought was to have these in like the traditional now what have I done, in the traditional cross, oh gosh, can't work this out, in a traditional cross shape like this. I thought maybe I could do that. So I've got the red where there are 5 tiles, crossing, so the green, oh no, but then I decided I didn't like that. I'd like something a bit less rigid, so I might mix them up as I was doing as the camera came on. I just might mix them up a little bit, but I'm not sure yet how. If I put these, I could put those. So I'm going to play around. Oh, that's not bad, is it? So as you can see by looking at the screen, these have all been tacked down now. All the tiles have been individually tacked in place, so they're secure and they're ready to work on. You can see that I didn't do the cross with the red in the centre. I have varied them, and believe it or not, it took me ages to decide on this arrangement. There were so many possible arrangements, but I like this, and there is a flow to it from there to there and up there with the red, and then the green flows as well. So I'm quite pleased with that. I think it's the best I could do. Just going to move that down a little bit like that so you can see there and there, and it's quite a fair size now. It's quite hard to get on here. You can see by the size of my hand, although I have moved the camera back. The camera is normally lower than this. So there we are. Now the next step is to secure these with a stitch. Now at the moment I'm thinking of outlining in white thread. I think the white would just go nicely with the black background. So I think I possibly will outline them in white, but I can't decide on a stitch. I keep going back to a small blanket stitch, and that's as far as I've got really. It cost my mind to do running stitch, but the running stitch then would still free up the edges of these tiles, and these need to be down in place. So I think the only way of doing that would be with a stitch that over sews the edge, like blanket stitch, or over sewing even. Even a detached chain might look quite nice. Maybe even a feather stitch. Could do a feather stitch from side to side maybe. There's the thought. So I'm going to choose a stitch. I will eventually come around and choose a stitch, and then I will make a start. So hopefully the next time you see this, there will be some sort of progression along these sides. Hopefully I'll have done those. Anyway, I'm going to crack on. This didn't take very long, it was only some tacking. It was the rearranging or the arranging that took the most time. The next bit might be a bit lengthier, but anyway, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will look a bit different next time you see it. So I decided on cross stitch, and I've worked it around all the tiles. Measure around here the black border, and that is just 1 inch and 1/8. That's the narrowest. 1 1/2, 1 1/2, and what have we got here? 1 1/4. So the narrowest part of this border is 1 inch and 1/8. So this will be my guide for how wide or deep that the border is going to be. Now, what I need to do, I mean, I can always add a strip. I could always make the border as wide as I wanted by just adding a strip here in black, and it really wouldn't notice if I did, but I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to keep it this size, unless I have problems later on, then I might have to make it wider. But I need to make, at the narrowest here, it is 1 inch. Right, so maybe I might have to make that a little bit wider, but we'll see when I get to that. So the narrowest then is 1 inch, not 1 inch and 1/8. Now what I'm going to do is try to make this. You see, this is the effect that I want, and this, as I said earlier, is what borders a lot of the big carpets. So if I put that round about there, where are we? Keep moving. If I have something like that here, but in white. I've chosen white because I didn't want to choose red or green. I just think white and black will complement this nicely. The white will complement these shapes inside and the background. For me, the easiest way to do this is to make a template. So I'm going to make these 1 inch wide. This, draw a line straight down here, 1 inch wide. So I'm lining it up again. That's 1 inch wide there. And I'm going to make some boxes 1 inch wide again along here. Oops. Inches along here. There might be an easier way of doing this, I'm not sure, but for me this works. So these are all the boxes I need now, and all I'm going to do here is join them up along there. I don't think I need a ruler for that. Along there, down there, and that way I've got the width and the depth of the triangles that I want. Now I'm just going to cut these out without actually breaking them. Don't want to break them at this end. If you want your triangles smaller, then all you do is make them shorter and thinner. So I'm going to cut close to that line without breaking into the points, the bottom of the triangles. And there we go, and that is my template. So I'm just going to draw around this. Let me pop that in shot like this. Now I'm going to use pen because I can turn it over. So this will be the back, and then to get to the end, if you can see that, to get to the end, I'm just going to pull that along there and start it again here. And there we have it. So I should cut these out. And there they are. Now I can see from here, I don't know if these might be a bit big, so I might have to make the next template a little bit smaller. I'm not sure. Well, they might be okay. So I'm now going to cut out enough of these to go all the way around the edge of the border. So I've cut out 6 of these, and I'm going to attach them to the border. And I did trim them quite a lot to get the actual size I wanted. I'm going to place them that way with the points facing in. So I shall pin them down now and tack them all the way around, ready for sewing. So I'll just put the white border over the black, and as you can see, I've tacked it all the way around, or maybe you can't see actually, but there is tacking all the way around. Now my next thing to do is to secure it with stitching. Now at this moment I think I'm going to do a running stitch all the way round the edge to secure the white, the edge of the white to the edge of the black, and then I might do some long stitch over and some decoration in the black triangles. Now I'm not sure, this is just playing around in my head at the moment, so I will start with the running stitch, and I'll do the running stitch all the way round. I shall hang it for a while, and then hopefully I'll have a better idea of what to do, whether to do the long stitch and the details in the points, or to do something else. And also I think maybe something along here to bring the white in there here. Goodness, this just gets bigger and bigger, but that is progression of an idea. Okay, too much progression sometimes. Right, I'm calling it finished now. Apart from the backing, which I'll do later, it's finished. I keep looking at it and thinking perhaps I should have put something, stitches or beads, sequins even, in some of these triangle shapes, but I'm not too sure. It's hard to know when doing something like this when to stop, and really you need someone else to say no, put your needle down, but I didn't have anyone like that this time, so I just kept going. I put the white border on here with running stitch or slow stitch, call it what you want, but it is basically running stitch, and I've secured the edge down with a long stitch, which is also like a running stitch, only it's slightly longer, no longer than 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. So the border has got running stitch and long stitch on it. Now along here, the black areas here, I've put running stitch, 3 rows of running stitch. Now I have to be honest that one of these tiles here, it's a green one I think, I can't see it at the moment, slightly smaller than the rest, so it threw out the rows of running stitch. So if you manage to look very carefully, you can see, here it is, you can see there are 3 rows here, the red, and it goes across this row here, and then it shifts one row shifts down here. So these aren't true. It's only that these two that are straight across, right the way across, but the side ones are mismatched. But who cares? Who cares? It still looks okay. So I'm quite pleased with this. The border here, it does go down here as well, but this is just a little bit too big now to pop on the screen. And I think what I will do is take a photograph of this so you can see what it looks like in its entirety. I'll make it just a little bit bigger. There we are. So, and I'll move it just gently and you'll get an idea of what it's looking like. I'm quite pleased with this. And while I was doing it, I thought this would make a nice bag. Like one of these sort of over here, like an envelope type of bag, like this, like that. You see that there, like an envelope, and then with one of these in the centre. And I think, wow, that would be a gorgeous bag. Now the next thing I need to do is just tidy up here the back and cover it up. Now I'm going to use some felt, this black felt. I think it's quite an inferior felt, I have to say. It was a cheap polyester felt, and when I opened the envelope and saw it, oh, I was disappointed to say the least, but never mind. It's made a nice background on here, and it will make a nice firm covering to get rid of all this. So that's my next task. So I'll get back to you shortly, because that won't take long, and then I will call it finished. Now before I do go, I'm not making this up. This is for another purpose where I just need it like this. And so what I do with these sort of things, to store them, I put them in picture frames. Normally take the glass out. I have to take the glass out of this anyway because it's so raised, and they're easy to store, so it keeps them nice and fresh. Whereas I was keeping them at one time in suitcases, and they were looking old and tired. But yeah, so if you need to store some, just go to your local charity shop, where I get mine from. Well, not my charity shop obviously, unless you want to come over to the UK for a cuppa. But just go to your local charity shop and buy up the photo frames, and that is just what I do. But anyway, enough of that. I'm now going to cover the back, put that in place, and then call it finished. These are the photographs of the finished piece. Because I can't get them on the table anymore or under the camera, I think it's best if I put the photographs up, so hopefully you get a really good idea of what they're looking like. I've also backed them now with a felt, and they're just finished. So I should finish the video here, just to say I really hope you enjoyed that. And if you don't belong to the Facebook group, please think of joining and showing us what you're doing and your work. And thank you for all those who are already showing their work on Facebook. And can I just say that I was cleaning my computer earlier on today, and I found an awful lot of messages going back for months and months from some of you from YouTube, and that I didn't see it, and I'm not sure if I've answered. I might have answered them on the YouTube instead of by email. So if I haven't answered you at any time, I'm really sorry. Having said that, if you haven't subscribed, perhaps you'd think of subscribing too. I hate saying that, but people say you must say that. So anyway, do have a go at this. This will be our last felt project, because I'm getting quite addicted to it and I need to stop it somewhere. Please take care wherever you are in the world, and I'll speak to you on Facebook and hopefully get another project out for you soon. Any ideas for projects? projects, please put them in the comments, either on Facebook comments or underneath. Alright then, take care everyone.